Welcome back to Pop Flashback. So today we are rewinding the clock back to a pretty monumental night in music history. February 9th, 1964. The night the Beatles made their American television debut on The Ed Sullivan Show.
It's hard to overstate how much that appearance changed the trajectory of popular music.
Oh, it's true. To really grasp the significance we need to set the scene, imagine over 73 million viewers glued to their TV screens. The largest TV audience ever recorded at that time? Think about it, over 50,000 ticket requests flooded in for a studio that could only hold 728 people. Even Richard Nixon's daughters were in that audience. There was this palpable buzz, this sense that something huge was about to happen.
And Ed Sullivan, the king of variety shows at the time, knew exactly how to capitalize on that anticipation.
Right. But here's something I always wondered. How did Ed Sullivan even discover the Beatles in the first place?
Well, the story goes that Sullivan was at Heathrow Airport in London when he witnessed this chaotic scene of fans welcoming the Beatles back from a tour. He was so struck by the sheer frenzy surrounding this band that he just knew he had to book them for his show.
Wow, talk about being at the right place at the right time.
Exactly. And that chance encounter led to one of the most iconic moments in television history. But let's not forget what happened before those four lads from Liverpool took the stage. There were some pretty interesting moments backstage, too.
Oh, yeah, like that time Paul McCartney got a mock haircut backstage from Olympic speed skater Terry McDermott, who also happened to be a barber.
Can you imagine the scene? The nervous energy, the excitement, and then you have this Olympian pretending to give a Beatle a haircut moments before they're about to perform for millions.
That's a story you wouldn't forget.
Absolutely. But all those pre-show jitters seemed to melt away once the Beatles hit the stage. Their performance was pure energy, pure charisma, a whirlwind of rock and roll that just captivated America.
And they didn't just play any old songs. Their set list was carefully curated to introduce themselves to the American audience. All My Loving showcased their songwriting skills. Till There Was You offered a nod to Broadway and a more mature audience. And then you had the raw energy of She Loves You and I Saw Her Standing There. That just ignited the younger generation.
And of course, they closed with their global smash hit, I Want to Hold Your Hand, the song that had already taken America by storm and solidified their position as the leaders of this new musical wave.
The visual aspects of the performance were pretty innovative, too. Remember those close-up shots with superimposed captions?
Oh, absolutely. It added this layer of personality and humor to the performance. And who could forget that Sorry Girls, He's Married caption on John Lennon? It was a playful acknowledgement of the Beatlemania that was already sweeping the nation.
Right. This wasn't just a performance. It was a cultural phenomenon in the making.
Exactly. The Ed Sullivan Show appearance marked the official arrival of Beatlemania in America. It wasn't just teenagers screaming and swooning. It was a nationwide obsession that permeated every aspect of American culture.
I think we'll pause here for a bit. We've got a lot more to cover about the impact of this iconic performance. And the Beatles' subsequent appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show. We'll pick this right back up in part 2. Hangry.
Hangry. Totally. And we're looking at their online shop today, and it's pretty wild. Got like everything you could think of, from t-shirts and sweatshirts to candles and stickers, and they've got, all this stuff with this really fun, food-themed kind of spin on it.
Yeah.
It's interesting how they've taken, what's a pretty negative emotion and spun it to be something.
To be something good.
Yeah, like something relatable and fun. Welcome back.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of that first performance, but it's crucial to understand the broader context, what made the Beatles' music so revolutionary, especially in the early 1960s.
Absolutely. America was on the verge of some pretty huge cultural shifts, and the Beatles arrived at precisely the right moment.
Yeah.
Their sound, this blend of rock and roll pop, and even a touch of blues, it was fresh, energetic, and unlike anything most Americans had heard before.
Their music felt like this burst of youthful rebellion and optimism, perfectly resonating with a generation that was ready for a change.
And let's not forget their look, those haircuts, the suits, that playful charm. It was all part of their appeal. They challenged the norms of the time, becoming style icons in the process.
They were more than just a band. They represented a new era.
Exactly. And the Ed Sullivan Show as a platform amplified their impact. It brought their music and their message directly into the living rooms of millions across the country.
Speaking of the Ed Sullivan Show, we can't forget their subsequent appearances. Their first performance might have ignited Beatlemania, but it was their continued presence on the show that solidified their place in American culture.
Right. Just a week after their debut, they performed live again, this time from the Duville Hotel in Miami Beach.
From a New York studio to sunny Miami in just 7 days.
Talk about a whirlwind experience.
And the frenzy followed them. Nearly 70 million viewers tuned in for that second performance, proving that Beatlemania was no passing fad.
And they kept the momentum going. They performed for a third time on the show, this time with pre-recorded footage from their first appearance, keeping the excitement levels high while they were busy touring and captivating audiences across America.
And as if 3 appearances weren't enough, they returned to the Ed Sullivan Show a few months later for a 4th live performance, further cementing their connection with their American fans.
But here's something fascinating. Even after they stopped touring in 1966, the Beatles continued to send Ed Sullivan filmed promotional clips for their new music.
It shows how savvy they were about using television to connect with their fans. They weren't just musicians, they were masters of media. They understood that the Ed Sullivan Show had this unique power to reach a vast audience, and they used it to share their evolving sound and stay connected with their fan base.
And think about the impact this had on music as a whole.
Yeah.
They were pioneers in using television as a platform for promotion and artistic expression. They set a precedent for how musicians could engage with their audience and shape the cultural landscape.
It's wild to think that one show, The Ed Sullivan Show, played such a pivotal role in launching one of the most influential bands of all time.
It's a testament to the power of music, the power of television, and the undeniable talent and vision of the Beatles.
You know, as we've been exploring the Beatles' journey on The Ed Sullivan Show, I can't help but wonder about the impact it had on aspiring musicians back then. Could you imagine being a young musician, watching those performances and feeling inspired to pick up an instrument and chase your own dreams?
It's mind-blowing to consider the ripple effect of those appearances. Countless musicians from Bruce Springsteen to Billy Joel have cited that night in 1964 as a pivotal moment in their own musical journeys.
Wow.
The Beatles' influence transcends generations. Their music continues to inspire and resonate with people all over the world.
It makes you wonder what other musical performances hold similar cultural significance. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspectives.
I feel like this whole conversation has really highlighted how much the Beatles' Ed Sullivan Show appearances were a turning point, not just for music, but for culture in general.
Oh, it's true.
They ushered in this new era, this youthful energy, creativity, and a sense of breaking free from the old ways.
What's fascinating is that it wasn't just about the music itself. It was the whole package. The look, the attitude, the witty banter. They presented this image of rebellious cool that was both exciting and, in a way, reassuring to young people at the time.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about rebellion either. There was an underlying sense of optimism in their music, this belief that things could be different, better.
Right.
That resonated deeply with a generation that was eager for change.
Yeah?
Their music became the soundtrack to a cultural revolution, a shift in attitudes, fashion, and even social norms.
You know, it's funny to think about it now, but back then, their long hair and those loud guitars were seen as pretty controversial by some.
Absolutely. They challenged the status quo, and that's what made them so impactful. They weren't afraid to push boundaries, and their music gave a voice to a generation that was ready to break free from the conventions of the past.
And it's amazing to think that it all started with those appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show. Those performances introduced them to a massive audience and, in a way, legitimized rock and roll in the eyes of mainstream America.
It's true. And because of their success, it paved the way for countless other British bands to find their own footing in the U.S. market. The British invasion, as it came to be known, completely reshaped the landscape of popular music.
It's incredible to think that one television show could have such a profound impact on music history. It really speaks to the power of media and its ability to shape culture.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected events can spark the biggest changes. Who would have thought that a chance encounter at an airport would lead to one of the most defining moments in 20th century pop culture?
It's a story that proves that sometimes all it takes is the right moment, the right platform, and a whole lot of talent to change the world.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to Pop Flashback. Remember to like and subscribe so you can get our next episode. Catch you next time.